I thought the worst thing that could ever happen to me was when my girlfriend asked for an open relationship. I was wrong. Because what she really wanted wasn't freedom. She wanted permission. Permission to replace me slowly, while keeping me around as emotional insurance. And I agreed. I agreed to rules that were never meant to protect me. To honesty that was selective. To openness that only worked in one direction. I watched her fall in love with another man while still sleeping next to me. I watched myself become optional in my own relationship. And the moment I finally did what she had been doing for months. She called it betrayal. That's when I realized the relationship was never open. It was a test. And I had already failed it the day I said yes. I still remember the exact moment she said it, not because it was loud or dramatic, but because of how casually it slipped into the room. Like a drop of ink into clear water. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, the TV humming in the background, some forgettable show neither of us was really watching. Her legs were tucked under her, phone resting face down on her thigh. That alone should have meant something. She always scrolled while watching TV. Always. I've been thinking about something, she said. Those words never mean nothing. They're never neutral. They're the emotional equivalent of someone saying, we need to talk, but pretending they don't know it. About what? I asked, already bracing myself. She hesitated. Not long. Just enough to feel deliberate. Us. There it was. I muted the TV. The silence that followed felt heavier than it should have. I could hear the refrigerator in the kitchen, the faint sound of traffic outside, my own breathing, suddenly too loud, too noticeable. I love you, she said quickly, like she was trying to soften a blow she hadn't delivered yet. But I think we've been stuck. Stuck. Another word people use when they don't want to say bored. I nodded, even though I didn't agree. Or maybe I did, and just hadn't admitted it to myself yet. Our relationship wasn't explosive or toxic. It was steady. Predictable. Comfortable. And apparently, that was the problem. I don't want to break up, she continued. That's not what this is. My stomach tightened. Somehow, that made it worse. I just think we should consider opening things up. The sentence landed awkwardly between us, like a piece of furniture that didn't belong in the room. Opening, what, exactly? I asked, even though I already knew. An open relationship, she said. Calm. Measured. Like she'd practiced it. It doesn't mean we don't care about each other. It just means we're being honest about wanting more than one experience. I stared at her, trying to match the woman in front of me with the girl I'd fallen for 2 years ago. Back then, she hated the idea of casual dating. Said emotions were messy, that intimacy should mean something. Now she was explaining non-monogamy like it was a productivity hack. Is this something you want, I asked, or something you already have in mind? Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. That's not fair, she said. That was answer enough. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse her. I didn't do anything dramatic. I just leaned back and let the weight of it settle into my chest. Part of me wanted to say no immediately, to draw a hard line and dare her to cross it. Another part of me, the quieter, more dangerous part, was afraid of losing her. I don't know, I said finally. I need time to think. She smiled then. Not relieved. Reassured. Like she'd already won something. Of course, she said. Take all the time you need. But as she leaned over to kiss my cheek, I realized something cold and uncomfortable. This wasn't a question. It was a test. And I had a feeling that whatever choice I made, I was already too late. She gave me space. Or at least, what looked like space on the surface. For the next few days, she didn't bring it up. No pressure, no reminders, no subtle comments, and that silence felt calculated. Like she knew exactly how my mind worked. The more time I had to think, the more I'd try to be reasonable. To be modern. To not be that guy. But the thought didn't leave me for a single second. I replayed our conversation while brushing my teeth, while driving to work, while lying awake at night staring at the ceiling. The word open kept echoing in my head, sounding less like freedom and more like an unlocked door I didn't ask for. On the fourth night, she brought it up again. We were cooking dinner together, moving around each other in that familiar choreography we'd perfected over time. She chopped vegetables. I stirred the pan. Domestic. Intimate. Normal, which somehow made the conversation feel more surreal. So, she said lightly, have you thought about it? I turned the stove down before answering. Bought myself a few seconds. Yeah, I said. I have. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed, studying my face like she was reading a report. I don't love the idea, I admitted. But I also don't want to lose you. That was the truth. Not the proudest one, but the honest one. Her expression softened. She stepped closer, resting her hand on my chest. You won't, she said. That's the whole point. We sat down after dinner, plates pushed aside, and that's when she pulled out the rules. Actual rules. Like this was a contract instead of an emotional minefield. No mutual friends, she said first. That's important. I nodded, though something about that felt convenient. No bringing anyone to our place, she continued. And no emotional attachments. Just physical. I almost laughed at that one. Almost. And complete honesty, she added. No secrets. That word sat there, heavy and ironic. What about you? I asked. Do you already have someone in mind? She hesitated again. Longer this time. Not officially, she said. But that doesn't matter. This is about us growing. Growing. Another word that sounded good but felt wrong. I should have said no. I know that now. I should have trusted that knot in my stomach, that quiet instinct screaming that I was about to agree to something that would slowly hollow me out. Instead, I said, okay. The relief on her face was instant. Too instant. She kissed me hard, like she was rewarding me. Like I'd passed an exam I didn't know I was taking. That night, she was more affectionate than she'd been in weeks. She laughed more. Touched me more. Held me like she was reassuring herself that I was still there. And I let myself believe it was going to be fine. The first time she went out with friends, after that conversation, I didn't ask questions. I told myself I was being mature. Secure. Evolved. But when she didn't answer her phone for hours, I stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed me. When she came home late, smelling different, not bad, just different, she kissed me softly and said she was tired. I lay awake next to her, listening to her breathing, wondering whose hands had been on her earlier that night. That's when it hit me. The rules weren't there to protect us. They were there to protect her from feeling guilty. And I had a sinking feeling that I was about to learn just how flexible those rules could be, as long as I was the one getting hurt. The first name slipped out by accident. She didn't introduce him to me. She didn't even say she was meeting him. It came out the way truth often does, sideways, unguarded, wrapped in a sentence that wasn't supposed to matter. Mark said that place is overrated anyway. We were in the car, stuck at a red light. I was driving. She was staring out the window, tracing invisible shapes on the glass with her finger. The word Mark hung in the air between us, sharp and sudden. Mark? I asked, keeping my voice steady. She blinked. Just once. Then she smiled. Yeah. From work. I think I mentioned him before. She hadn't. Oh, I said. Is he one of the situations? She shrugged. Casual. Too casual. Kind of. We've talked a bit. Talked. Another harmless word doing dangerous work. I didn't push. Not then. I told myself that was the agreement, honesty without interrogation. Trust without control. All those buzzwords people used to pretend this kind of thing didn't hurt. But that night, curiosity ate through me. She was in the shower, music playing softly through the door. Her phone lay on the bed, screen dark, innocent looking. I stared at it longer than I want to admit. I didn't pick it up. That choice haunted me later. Over the next week, Mark became more real. More present. She didn't say his name again, but she didn't need to. I felt him in the changes, the way she dressed when she went out, the way she smiled at messages she wouldn't open in front of me, the way her attention drifted even when we were together. One night, I finally asked, "So, how's work been?" She glanced up from her phone. "Good. Busy." "Still talking to Mark?" Her jaw tightened just slightly. "Why?" "No reason," I said. "Just curious." She set the phone down. "I thought we agreed not to micromanage each other." There it was. The rules, suddenly sharp, suddenly convenient. "I'm not micromanaging," I said. "I just want to know what's happening." "Nothing is happening," she replied. "You're reading into things." I let it go. Again. The truth came later that night, when she thought I was asleep. She slipped out of bed quietly, grabbed her phone, and went to the living room. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the muffled sound of her voice through the wall. She wasn't whispering. She was laughing. Soft at first. Then louder. Warmer. The kind of laugh she used to save for me. Something cracked in my chest. When she came back to bed, she slid under the covers and pressed her cold feet against my legs like nothing had happened. I didn't move. "Love you," she murmured. I didn't say it back. The next day, I ran into Mark by accident. Or maybe it wasn't an accident. I was picking her up from work when I saw them outside the building. He was leaning against the wall, hands in his pockets, smiling like he had nowhere else to be. She stood close to him. Too close. He said something that made her laugh, that same laugh. Then he touched her arm. Not casually. Not briefly. Familiar. Confident. She saw me a second later. Her smile froze, then rearranged itself into something safer. "Hey," she said, walking over like nothing was wrong. Mark glanced at me, eyes flicking over me with open curiosity. Assessment. "This is my boyfriend," she said. "This is Mark." Boyfriend. The word felt heavier than it used to. Mark smiled and held out his hand. "Nice to finally meet you." Finally. I shook his hand, forcing a smile, feeling the unspoken truth settle in. This wasn't just an open relationship. I was sharing space in a story that no longer belonged to me. And the worst part? I had a feeling she hadn't told him the rules the same way she told me. After I met Mark, things changed in a way that was subtle enough to deny but obvious enough to feel. She started being kinder to me. That might sound strange, but it wasn't the warmth we used to have, it was careful, controlled, like she was managing a fragile situation. Compliments appeared out of nowhere. Random kisses. Small reassurances dropped into conversations like bandages over something bleeding underneath. "You okay?" she asked more often. I always said yes. The truth was, I felt like I was slowly being repositioned in my own relationship. Not replaced, downgraded. Like I was still necessary, but no longer central. One evening, I decided to test the rules. "I might grab a drink with someone from work tomorrow," I said casually, not looking at her. Her head snapped up. "Someone?" "Yeah," I said. "Just a coworker." She watched me for a moment, eyes narrowing slightly. "Is it a woman?" There it was. "Does it matter?" I asked. She laughed, but it was tight. "Of course not. I just didn't know you were ready." Ready. As if this was her gift to me, not her idea in the first place. "I guess I am," I said. The next day, she texted me 3 times before noon. Asked where I was going, what time I'd be back, whether I still loved her. Each message felt heavier than the last. That night, I didn't go out. I sat alone in a bar, scrolling through my phone, watching couples talk and laugh and lean into each other. I realized something then: I didn't actually want someone else. I wanted her to want me the way she used to. When I got home, she was waiting up, curled on the couch. "You're early," she said. "I didn't go," I replied. Relief flashed across her face before she could stop it. That's when I knew the balance was off. A week later, she told me she was staying over at a friend's place. "Which friend?" I asked. She sighed. "Do we have to do this?" I nodded. Slowly. "Yeah. We do." She hesitated, then said his name. "Mark." The silence stretched between us. "I thought no sleepovers," I said. She crossed her arms. "We never said that explicitly." "Of course." The rules were suddenly written in pencil. I didn't argue. I just nodded and watched her pack an overnight bag like it was the most normal thing in the world. That night, I lay alone in our bed, staring at the empty space beside me. Every sound in the apartment felt louder without her. The ticking clock. The hum of the heater. My own thoughts. I imagined her there with him, laughing, relaxed, present in a way she hadn't been with me in months. Something inside me hardened. By morning, I wasn't sad anymore. I was clear. If she could bend the rules when it suited her, then they were never really rules at all. They were permissions. And for the first time since this started, I wondered what would happen if I stopped being the understanding one. What would happen if I played by the same flexibility she was using, but without asking first? Because if this was truly open, then maybe it was time I stopped waiting my turn in a relationship that no longer revolved around me. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Her best friend, Lena, had always been around. Since the beginning. She was the constant: brunches, birthdays, late-night phone calls that ended with my girlfriend rolling her eyes and saying, "She's a mess." The kind of mess that was charming from a distance and dangerous up close. Lena knew everything. Or at least, she knew her version of everything. The night it happened, my girlfriend was out with Mark. Again. No explanation this time, just a text saying she'd be late and a heart emoji that felt almost insulting. Lena came over around 9. "I didn't want to be alone," she said, dropping onto the couch beside me. And honestly, I didn't want to listen to her gush about him. That word again. Gush. We drank wine. Too much of it. The conversation drifted from safe topics into more honest territory, the kind that only happens when people stop pretending they're neutral observers. "She's changed," Lena said quietly. "You feel it too, right?" I nodded. "Every day." Lena looked at me then, really looked at me, like she was seeing me for the first time outside the role I played in her friend's life. "You don't deserve this," she said. Those 4 words hit harder than I expected. "I agreed to it," I replied. "That's on me." "Agreeing doesn't mean you're okay with it," she said. "It just means you were scared to lose her." The room felt smaller suddenly. Warmer. Or maybe that was just the alcohol. She moved closer. Not touching. Just close enough that I could feel the heat from her body. "Does she even know how lucky she is?" Lena asked. I laughed softly. "I don't think she cares anymore." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was loaded. "I should go," Lena said, not moving. "Yeah," I said. Also not moving. She kissed me first. It wasn't wild or impulsive. It was slow. Careful. Like we were both fully aware of the line we were crossing, and stepping over it anyway. The guilt came later. At first, there was only relief. Relief at being wanted. Chosen. Seen. When we finally pulled apart, Lena rested her forehead against mine. This changes things, she whispered. I know, I said. My phone buzzed then. A message from my girlfriend. Still out. Don't wait up, Redheart. I didn't reply. Lena stayed the night. We didn't talk much after. There was no pillow talk, no promises. Just the quiet understanding that something irreversible had happened. In the morning, she left early. Whatever happens, she said at the door, I'm not sorry. I was. But not for the reason I thought I would be. I wasn't sorry I'd slept with her best friend. I was sorry because, for the first time in months, I felt powerful again. And I knew, absolutely knew, that when my girlfriend found out, she wouldn't see this as playing by the same rules. She would see it as betrayal. Because the rules were never about freedom. They were about control. And I had just taken it back. She found out 3 days later. Not from me. Not from Lena. From the worst possible place, her own intuition. The kind you develop when you've been lying just enough to recognize the smell of it on others. She came home early, keys hitting the counter harder than usual. Her bag followed, dropped without care. I was in the kitchen, making coffee like it was any other afternoon. You slept with Lena. It wasn't a question. I turned slowly. Yes. Her face shifted through emotions too fast to track: shock, anger, disbelief, and finally something uglier. Possessive. How could you do that to me? She snapped. I almost laughed. To you? I said quietly. That's interesting. She paced the room like a caged animal. She's my best friend. That's completely different. Different how? I asked. You said no emotional attachments. You said honesty. You said openness. That rule was implied, she shot back. You know you crossed a line. I nodded. So did you. Her eyes flashed. Mark isn't the same. No, I agreed. He's better for you. That stopped her. She stared at me like I'd just spoken a language she didn't know. You're being cruel, she said. I'm being honest, I replied. Something you asked for. She sat down hard on the couch, hands shaking. I never thought you'd actually do it, she whispered. There it was. The truth beneath everything. You wanted permission, I said, not participation. She looked up at me, tears forming but not falling. I wanted us to survive. Then why did it feel like I was the only one at risk? She had no answer. She stayed angry. Loudly. Publicly. Lena was blocked. Labeled a traitor. I was accused of doing it out of spite, of trying to hurt her, of using the open relationship as an excuse. But when I asked her if she'd stop seeing Mark, she went silent. That silence told me everything. A week passed. Then 2. We lived together like roommates, sharing a history neither of us wanted to claim anymore. She went out. I stayed in. The tension never left, it just settled into the walls. One night, she stood in the doorway of the bedroom. I don't think this is working anymore, she said. I looked at her and felt calm. Yeah, I replied. I think you're right. She blinked. That's it? I shrugged. What did you expect? She waited. For anger. For begging. For something to confirm that she still had the upper hand. It never came. The breakup wasn't dramatic. No screaming. No throwing things. Just a quiet, mutual understanding that whatever we'd been pretending to save had already burned down. As she packed her things, she stopped and looked at me one last time. You ruined this, she said. I met her gaze. No. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. When the door closed behind her, the apartment felt empty, but lighter. And for the first time since she'd asked that first question on the couch, I realized something important. I didn't lose her. I lost the version of myself who was willing to accept less than respect, just to stay. 3 months later, my life looked nothing like I'd imagined it would. The apartment was quieter now. No half-finished conversations. No waiting for keys in the lock at midnight. Just space, physical and mental, and the strange discomfort that comes with realizing how much noise you were tolerating before. Lena and I didn't become a thing. We met once after everything ended, sat across from each other in a small cafe, both of us painfully aware of the line we'd crossed and the consequences it carried. She hates me, Lena said, staring into her coffee. I know, I replied. And she always will. I nodded. Probably. There was no regret in her voice. Just acceptance. What about you? She asked. Do you hate me too? I thought about it. No, I said. I just don't want to build anything on something that started as a fracture. She smiled at that. Sad, but understanding. We hugged. It was brief. Final. After that, I stopped trying to explain the story to people. Every time I did, someone wanted a villain. Someone wanted a clean narrative with a hero and a mistake. The truth was messier. She didn't cheat on me. I didn't betray her. We agreed to something we didn't emotionally understand, and paid for it in different currencies. Weeks later, I ran into her by chance at a grocery store. She looked different. Not happier. Just reorganized. Like someone who'd rearranged their life and was still learning where everything belonged. We stood there awkwardly between shelves of cereal and cleaning supplies. How are you? She asked. I'm good, I said. And meant it. She hesitated. Mark and it didn't last. I didn't feel anything when she said it. No satisfaction. No pain. That sucks, I replied, sincerely. She studied my face, searching for something, maybe proof that she still mattered in the way she used to. What did you learn from all this? She asked. I thought for a moment. That openness without equality isn't freedom, I said. It's just a power imbalance with better branding. She exhaled slowly, like the words landed heavier than she expected. We said goodbye. Just like that. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I thought about how the word open had nearly convinced me to abandon my boundaries. How easily I'd accepted discomfort because it was framed as growth. Some relationships aren't meant to be closed or open. They're meant to be aligned. And when alignment disappears, no set of rules can bring it back, only delay the ending. The hardest lesson wasn't learning to let her go. It was learning to recognize when love asks you to disappear quietly, and having the courage to say no. That was what actually opened. Not the relationship. Me.